Happy Wednesday. So you know when you already started the day and you just did too much, so you got to start the whole day over. So I basically just started the whole day over. I done took a whole new shower. I done, about to do my makeup all over again. I'm about to take it from the top. So it's giving get ready with me. It's giving YouTube. What I'm about to do. Oh, you want what they say? You want your A1 brush. It's giving that, but it's not. But while I am here, before I actually jump back into the swing of work, I wanted to talk about managers and the myth of good managers. And I think two very close friends of mine have made mention of it in a couple conversations, and it's been coming up in some of the things that my mentors have said. It's something that I think a lot of my clients have been looking for, and just the question of how do I figure out who's a good manager and who's not. I don't want to be, a lot of us leave companies because of the fact that our manager was trash, right? So that's what we're essentially talking about, and I'm going to offer you up an alternative perspective on what it actually means to have a good manager, and why it may mean different things for different people. And particularly if you're going after more senior roles, that the things that you required of a manager when you first started out in your career are not the same things. Hey, y'all. Hey, that's calling me beautiful. Hi. Now, keep it coming. So that's what I want to talk about. If you are new here, no, I am not a YouTube makeup artist. I am a career coach. I don't know why y'all still log on to me, but okay. I'm a career coach and keynote speaker who just so happened to start the day over. I did a whole new meditation, took a whole new shower, did a whole new journal, ran, worked out, all the things, because I was up early and I did a whole bunch of work, and now I just feel like I need to reset in order for me to get back to work. And so I'll share a couple things. So if you've been joining the lives, you'll notice that there's like an automated, hey, how'd you think about my live? Right? That question that pops up, and I do review them. And I think that there's one comment that was shared was just like, share more of the things that you endured. Some of the advice you give is amazing, but I would love to hear more of your personal experiences. So I was like, well, why not if I do? Okay. So I think at every job that I have left, it was due to a number of different things, but it came down to just not to outgrowing the role. My manager at the time signaled to me that I was outgrowing the role, but I was hoping that I was going to get a little bit of validation from my manager to be able to either stay or that I should stay, right? Especially since I had invested so much time. I remember that I relied heavily on some of my managers in the past to be able to not just, put my name in the room for what's it called? Put my name in the room for promotions or new projects, but also for guidance, right? And I felt like when I didn't get that guidance in particular, I was just frustrated, and I was just like, why am I here? I feel like you're in my way. I have a terrible manager, and then I'm jumping into the group chats talking cash money shit about my manager being terrible. I also remember that there was a time that I had a great manager, but I didn't appreciate it because I was too traumatized or too annoyed or had too much resentment from previous managers that I just felt like, I was still like, did you see what they did to me over there? Did you see that did you see it? And I didn't get that validation from them. So there were times where I had good managers directly in front of me, but I was too pissy or too bitter from a previous job or a previous opportunity or whatever the case is. So as much as they tried to manage me, I was still living in the past, and they couldn't do anything to help me. And so, like I said, I've worked in beauty, I've worked in health, I've worked in media tech, research, and now considerably, arguably, career coaching or content creation. But I think that there's something to be said that on the internet, especially since a lot of career advice does speak to the things that resonate with us, especially when it comes to just being underappreciated, underrecognized, underpaid, overworked, and not feeling like our managers actually had our back in those moments. it's hard to not practice that habit of being resentful or not being able to manage your emotions properly when you do get the opportunity to get a good manager. So I want to offer that up to you as we think about the conversation. First, I'm looking for my eyeliner. Good God. As we think about the conversation of bad managers and what that means and how everyone has arguably probably experienced it, sometimes it's not always the same. It's not as black and white as it may seem. Okay. I remember that. So let me offer this up. So in one of my jobs, I had gotten shifted over into, so I got hired to be in, let's say, sales, right? I was hired to be over in account management. And then I'm thinking that this was, the time, and honestly, this is when I doubled up too. This is when I actually doubled my income. So I had got hired to be an account manager. And I was super excited about it. Turns out the work that I was actually doing was more admin than it was account management. And the difference being that is account management, there is a lot more client-facing work. There is more strategy. And it is more so on the post-sale side of the sales function. But in that time, the way that the business was set up, there were too many operational inefficiencies for me to even do the job that I was hired to do. So I had to jump in and help with creating some level of infrastructure for everyone to even be able to do their job, do the account management. But by the time we got to the point where we even had a decent amount of infrastructure, my role and my team got cut. And so I really didn't have nowhere to go. So they, instead of completely firing us, which they were about to because the team just got sunlit altogether, it wasn't really generating that much revenue, I got shifted over into a harder sales role with a quota. I didn't sign up to be on a team that had a quota, but I was also relatively newer in my career as well too, and I needed the coin, so I guess I'm gonna just be selling, right? And in that process, one of the things that happened was, the role that I signed up for, the first manager that I did have, she did not have managerial experience. And I want to double click on that and let y'all know that I know that a lot of us are like, okay, well, some of these managers, they need leadership training. They need this because there's just so many bad managers. I promise you, a lot of companies just hire their top performers and want them to teach other people on their team to be top performers. So they're not really thinking about leadership training. They may, if depending on the organization, if you're really focused on, if that's a part of your company culture. But oftentimes it's an individual contributor that was killing it. And they were like, we need 14, 11 of y'all over in the organization so we can get more productivity within the group. And so these people are now going to roll underneath you. You're going to manage them. The person's not going to say no because they're getting a bigger title. They're getting, more responsibilities and effectively they're getting more money. But that person, back to my yesterday's conversation around, yesterday? Maybe the day before. But about imposter syndrome, oftentimes like they're being thrown into the environment because of their perceived confidence to be able to do that job. So I remember I've had most of my managers, I would say even 80% of my managers did not have managerial experience. And one of the things that I felt like, because I was earlier in my career, I wanted a manager that was going to be able to provide some level of guidance. And I wasn't getting that. I was getting caught up in the fact that I wasn't getting that. And, that meant I didn't have a mental shift in terms of how to be able to adjust to that in time for me to be able to appreciate by the time I did get a good manager. So, there was on top of the fact that I'm the youngest person on the team, only black girl on the team, so many different factors that just I think were amplified environmentally, that it was just hard to see how I could be successful in this role if I don't have someone that's going to be able to give me some level of guidance, right? So by the time my role got cut after having that first manager who really wasn't that great of a manager, she just so happened to be at the organization. She got, shifted over into the team. When I look back at it in hindsight, I can't really blame her. I really can't blame her for why she was a bad manager, because not for nothing, when you have a small team and they want you to basically figure everything out, and they're not giving you enough resources for you to even be able to be a good manager, how can you expect something from what they don't have. Like, they literally don't have it. And she didn't have the capacity. She didn't have the bandwidth. All of our weekly status meetings would just be rushed. I would have to come up with all these different ideas or things to talk about. It would always get reprioritized every single week. I'm younger in my career. I don't really have that much courage or even just like the audacity to be like, girl, what are we doing? And we need to stop it right now. It was just like, okay, I just want to, make it happen and do whatever it is that I need to do. And then finally it came to a point where she was no longer my manager, in addition to the fact that there were some other issues that came up, insert HR violations, that at that point the team just started to get reintegrated over. It just got restructured. We got into another reorg. I got shifted into a different role. She was my manager, now went over into being my teammate, which was another interesting dynamic, because the power, right? The power and the optics. I know that took a hit to her ego and to just like her overall work, that the person that is in theory 2 levels below me is now working side by side with me. And I now have to be a student the way that she has to be a student. So now I have to be a lot more transparent in terms of what it is I thought was a leader, while still being able to show that I can do this, right? I'm giving you this background just to show, like, a lot of managers, they just get thrown into being a manager without the resources. So, not to say that you don't deserve to be salty, from some of your previous managers or even your current manager, because I know some of y'all will over here be in a group chat talking about them. Just understand that, like, they're learning from probably a lot of dated philosophies around what work looks like. They are learning from how to survive, which is another conversation that doesn't get talked about, is how to survive as a people manager, especially when you are looking to prove that your team is performing well, and you're literally trying to figure out how to ensure that they perform without having a nervous breakdown, that you don't have control over people anymore. You don't have control over yourself. You have control over your teams to a certain degree, or not really. So anyway, that it's time for me to get kicked off. Anyway, so I saw that to say, here's a myth about good managers, and something that I think is a better perspective in terms of being able to evaluate if this is somebody that you can work with or not when you're on the job hunt. Several conversations have happened. I remember I had one informational interview with one of the GMs of, like, let's say, I don't know, a competitor to Uber Eats. And one of the things that he had mentioned to me was that he made his decisions to leave and to join companies based on the type of people that were there, right? He looked at how fast it took to make decisions, and because of the fact that he wanted to accelerate his career relatively quickly, that decision making needed to be there, and he needed to be able to assess if that was fast enough, because a lot of projects, I'm sure all of y'all have experienced it, there's a lot of things y'all started to work on that did not get completed because it's held up in legal, it's held up in a team, it's now deprioritized, it's now not something that people want to pay attention to. So one of the first things that he talked about was he makes moves based on the type of people that are there, and that's how he'll assess that through the interview process. So that's number one. Number two, this came up twice with 2 people that are absolutely killing it over within their careers, and that's Robin Johnson and Ryan Sides. And they just mentioned that they, not entirely, but they didn't look at a manager, they didn't look at the person that they were reporting into's ability to be a good manager. They looked at how much that they could learn from that person. And so I think that is actually a lot more critical to think about when you are not just when you're not just having your first or second job out of college. Can you learn from the person that you have to report into? That actually has way more, that implicates your trajectory in your career way further than their ability to sit down and run a status meeting every single time. Do they understand how to navigate relationships or generate leverage or create influence or broker power from different teams? Do they know how to collaborate? Do they know how to run things from top to bottom? Even if they can't sit down and be like, hey, Bianca, step 1, step 2, can you watch? And especially if you're getting paid some of these high level roles, you are not going to get the onboarding or the training. They're not going to sit by you side by side. They're going to expect you to figure out how you learn and to figure out where the opportunity is. So really, sometimes a good manager may not necessarily have great managerial experience or skills, but they are damn good at their job. And that's something to be said about learning from somebody that is really, really good at their job. And you can learn from them. You can ask them. You can effectively figure out what you need to be taught so you can be that good. Right? So I said all that to say there's a myth around good managers. Yes, there are more managers that are getting training. It's crazy because once you finally get into a role, yeah, it sounds good in theory that you're going to be the best manager ever, but you are going to mess up. Like, I think that people that are on the receiving end, myself included, I'm guilty of it, tend to just like nitpick at the fact that they didn't get what they needed over at their job and they're resentful for it. Okay, cool. Now, when I think about the things that I've learned from even my worst managers, baby, they knew how to do stuff. I may not have liked it, but it came good and handy, and I definitely would pick up from that and take that on over into my career as well too. So let's say, for example, I say this over and over again. This is one of my managers that actually, quite frankly, like, I didn't appreciate how good of a manager that she was, but there was something to be said about how she positioned herself within the organization, being a woman, being underrepresented, and also having a brand new team as well too. She would always teach me and remind me that anytime that I had a win, make sure that you draft up a quick little summary, a little brag bag, and send it out to our senior leadership. That may not necessarily be the case for everybody's job, but she drilled that in my brain. And this is coming from somebody that had the philosophy of like, just let the work speak for itself. Like, I'm just continuing, or I didn't think that my impact really had that much juice, but I was also getting frustrated with the fact that there were people that were getting promoted or getting, I'm like, yeah, but they don't even really do nothing like that. Like, they got promoted for that. And it was just like, it's not even a matter that they just got promoted for that thing that you don't think was valuable. It's the fact that people that actually have the ability to say, yes, we're aware of it. And so there's something to be said about the awareness of the work that you do. And if you don't actually speak up for yourself and you're not proud of the work, or you're not able to articulate that story, then of course you're always going to be salty. And then you're going to be a Maddie, Frito-Lays. And that's on you. But it's not just a person's ability to be the perfect manager. I actually don't think that there's such a thing. I think it's a lie, and I think it's fear. I think it's a lie, and I think a lot of us have just kind of experienced a lot of terrible situations. That it's more about having a toxic work environment than it is having a bad manager, and a bad manager having to manage themselves around it, and they can't manage their team, and they're not skilled and equipped enough to do that. So as you're going over here and looking through new opportunities, new jobs, and you're interviewing and you're talking to people, I know the question comes up often, like, how do you evaluate that this person is a bad manager? And it's just like, okay, how about this? Think about the job that you're in right now and what you're not getting, what you're not learning. Why are you even leaving to begin with? Because is it black? Yes. Okay. Why are you leaving to begin with? Like, there's a particular reason as to why this is happening. And if that is the case, you need to be able to identify why that is the case. What's wrong with your manager that you don't? What don't you like about your manager right now? Right? Like, aside from the fact that they may not be able to manage their communicate well, or whatever it is that you feel like is the issue. And communicating well is actually, can you say this? Yes, I can. Granted, communicating well is important, right? But aside from those fundamental managerial skills, are they smart? Do they do things well within the organization? What do they do well in the organization that you don't know how to do, or that you're maybe not paying attention to? Are you asking the questions? Are you watching how they move? Are they still able to get things done, irrespective of your feelings about it? Because guess what? They did not hire your manager or hire you to be nice. While I think that is like, not necessarily, I'm not conflating being a good manager with being nice, but there's something to be said about the fact that, like, a lot of us have been trained or, I guess educated around job hunting, or be likable, be the nicest person in the room, make sure you keep your head down and make sure that you focus, when oftentimes more than not, they have very complex problems that require somebody that got it like that, and no one is like that, and it's like that. And they can handle it, and they're not going to sweat, and they're not going to be like, the client's not responding back to me. No, they figure out a way to get the client to respond. That's what they're hiring you for. They're not hiring you to complain about why the client is running. That's the reason why they hired you. They can't get the client to run. They hired you to figure it out, right? So it's these very complex issues. If, let's say, for example, you're running into issues, if you're on a client's facing side of a role, and your person or your point of contact is curving you. I've had that plenty of times before. Or internally, you have a project you need to get done, and marketing is like, that's not on our priority list. And you're like, okay, well, I need to get this done. It's on my priority list, what I'm supposed to do. And then you go back to your manager and just like, hey, I can't get it done. Instead of looking at it as, okay, maybe I need to get some senior leadership to make this happen on my behalf, because while that may be a good move, a chess move every once in a while, you don't want to use that move all the time, because now it weakens your power and your ability to be perceived as someone that can generate influence. Your manager's not going to trust you anymore if you're constantly leaning on them, okay, to push some things through, right? Even though they'll be like, let me know what it is that you need. Some things you need to read the room. And if you have constantly hit up your managers to let them know what it is that you need on something that you could probably have figured out if you just pushed a little bit hard enough or got a little more strategic, your power or your perceived value on the team is going to diminish. So then implications later on down the line, when it's time for you to get promoted, when you're looking for, the next opportunity, you want to get a raise, you want to get paid, and you feel like you've been doing all this extra work. Understand that all work is not made equal. So those big projects where, you may have leaned maybe 3-4 too many times on your manager or on someone else to get it done versus you just being able to show that you can create a play for yourself, that may be the reason why they're saying no, and they don't perceive you to have executive presence. They don't perceive you to be somebody that can actually handle the next opportunity because you had to lean on them so much. Is that? I hope that, I don't know. One thing about y'all don't talk in the chat. Y'all don't say hello. Y'all don't say hi. Manners. That's also where y'all got no manners. Y'all got no manners. So anyway, so I said all that to say, Dad, I got a meeting in a couple minutes. I said all that to say, think about what you want to learn, right? Because the reality of it is we're not staying at these jobs for 10, 15 years like the previous generation did. It's just not happening. It's not. It's actually not safe. I hate to use that word, but it's not. It's not actually the smartest thing to do, knowing that market volatility is a real thing. You should always be engaging recruiters. You should always be for the streets, okay, until you got enough FU money to do whatever it is that you want to do. But there is something to be said about the fact that you need to think about what it is that you want to learn and the type of people that you want to learn from. So when you are interviewing, this is the reason why they say when you're interviewing with people, when you're interviewing, it's not just them interviewing you. You are interviewing them. Right? You're interviewing, like, you know somebody that you can learn from or that you're impressed with if you ask the right questions, right? Like, you also have to ask the right questions. But you know someone that you're impressed with versus somebody that you're having to prove yourself to. It's a very, very different, dynamic. When you think about your manager, ask them what is something that they're most proud of. What was the most complicated thing that they actually worked on? What do they think that their team has to say about their ability to manage a team? What do they think that their strongest suit or their biggest asset to the team is? What is their vision for the team? Start to really comb through and get in that ass a little bit. I'll be over here cracking myself up. But you really have to ask some of those questions, and those answers will give you everything that you need to know about if this is a good manager or not for you. Okay? Because my definition of a good manager may be very, very different. I may need different things that I'm trying to learn. Like, let's say, for example, one person may want to learn someone that is just like a guru at creating infrastructure from scratch, right? Like, that's something that we had Daniel Calderon be a guest speaker over within the majors, and he just talked about how he was able to build one of Amazon's top performing warehouse infrastructure for Amazon's top performing warehouses globally, okay, from this scratch, okay. And so when you think about that, yes, Daniel's a great manager because he's worked in HR for a tremendous period of time, but now he's an entrepreneur. I think that there's something to be said about the type of people that he was able to learn from that gave him the skill set for him to be now running a major nonprofit, to be the head of partnerships for a magazine when this man was working in operations and HR and building out warehouses for Amazon. You are now able to create work from home, hashtag work from home, entrepreneurs of tomorrow. Like this is the reason why I say sometimes like the ability to kind of go from promotions or up, down, left, and right. Don't trip on the titles. Think about what the actual scope of work is, and then you can identify how much money you actually want to get, or if that role makes sense for you futuristically. But I think that that's a very big question: is can I actually learn from this person? Because that's what's going to make work exciting, if that's what you're looking for, right? If you're bored there's some people that are bored at work right now, right? They're like, I could do this with my eyes closed. I'm probably operating at like 50% efficiency. I really don't. I move my mouse every 3 hours because I just want to let them know that like my Microsoft Teams is working and my Slack is working. But I didn't send 2 emails today and I was tired. Okay. But you're also on the hunt and you're looking for new opportunities and you're looking for something that's going to challenge you or be exciting. So it's not just the scope of work that's going to make things exciting. It's the people around you that's going to push you to make sure that you are playing up to par. You are not the weakest link. I know that there are certain companies that actually have very perceived to be difficult, what are those things called? Interview processes. Netflix being one of them. I have to say, I had the opportunity to chat with some folks over at Netflix and just like see what type of people that they are, because my friend had a work from bring your friend to work day. No, she didn't. She just she did not have work. She invited me and I invited myself to stay there for forever. But as I was talking to some of her coworkers and some of her colleagues, it makes sense as to why their interview process is so robust. Because everybody that I know that works at that company, they are smart AF. I would have zero problem working with them. Like everybody is keeping each other on their toes. Okay? So if you don't get that kind of, and then you should be even, I know that with interviews, we often kind of focus on being able to answer the question and make sure that we get it right, or that we don't, whatever. You're focused on trying to make sure that you're saying all the right things. Also pay attention to the types of questions that they're asking you, or how they posture themselves, how they position themselves. If they're not asking you questions that are, I don't want to say hard or difficult or complex, they're unique, there's something to be said about the type of people that work in that culture to begin with. And if you are okay with that, then so be it. But if you're looking to elevate and you're looking at a bigger picture, like, okay, maybe I want this company over on my resume down the line so people can, talk to me nicely, continue to talk to me nicely, you have to be able to rise to the occasion. And you have to also trust, let me not get on my TD Jakes bag. Let me make it about me, so y'all know that I'm not preaching y'all, but I'm speaking to myself and hoping that I can that God will use me. Amen. Use me. I will pass the task. I think the last piece on this, the last tidbit I'll talk about is, as you are evaluating whether somebody is a good manager or not, is being able to trust that you know what that feels like. Not looks like, but feels like. Okay? When your stomach move, when you meet somebody new, like remove jobs, right? Remove career conversations, right? When you meet someone and you're like, they gang, we probably cut from the same cloth in some way. Like, this is somebody that I would rock with, or somebody that I would like to talk to again, or somebody that's like, oh, they're cool, right? Trust yourself. Trust yourself enough to know that when you feel that it's okay. I think a lot of us are very much like, a lot of information on the internet is like, a lot of information that I have that showed up on my algorithm, okay, let me not say the world, that has shown up on my algorithm has been like trying to ask every question possible to basically make sure that you don't get over on or etc., which I think is important. Like, some of those questions that do come up, they are useful, but like, to a certain degree, you have to trust that you know what it is that you need over in your next opportunity, and not be so heavily reliant on what other people are asking in order for them to figure out what's what. Because the reality of it, they not you, you not them. Y'all got different needs. You're learning different things. You have different skills. You got different gifts. Not everything is as black and white. And I think we need to just be okay with the ambiguity, and be okay with the ambiguity of the answers being different for every single person. And also being okay with what it is that we need. I might interview with somebody, like, and especially if you're interviewing and you hit a couple people over at the company that you're interviewing at, you're like, what's the company culture, right? You're trying to find out what the company culture is, and everyone's like, it's a team by team basis. Like, one person might be like, oh my God, it's amazing. And then you go on Glassdoor, and then someone's like, whoa, girl, it is nothing but hell on earth, hell and warfare. I didn't do this right. I did not do this right. Wow. But understanding that everybody has their own personal experience, everybody has their own filter, everybody's working from their own potential anger and resentment from previous jobs. So you have to take some of the feedback about company culture and what that looks like with a grain of salt. You know what it is that you need. You know what it feels like to be around a good team or something to get excited about. You know that over a period of time, it's not going to feel the same. Day one is not going to feel the same way as day 475, right? The work changes, you get comfortable. So like, to a certain degree, trust yourself enough to know what it is that you need in a manager, and that what you need to learn from, and understand that like, sometimes your manager is not going to be the person that can advocate for every little project that you have a little bit of friction on. You are hired to solve the problem. If they're hiring you and they're hiring you big bats, they're hiring you to solve the problem because they were confident in you enough to figure it out. Unless it hits a point, like obviously there's an arts and science, it hits a point, everyone always like, well, how many times? I don't know, girl. There's always hits a point where, you're going to have to tap your manager to make some things happen. But like, especially if you are looking at these roles, you trying to get, 6-7 figure bags. Yes, I said 7, child. You trying to increase your income by 50-60K. Trust yourself enough to know what it is that you need in your next role. Stop being so scary. Y'all jump in these lives. I say hello. I stopped doing my lashes to say hello, and y'all never say hi back. I just said hi to 8 of y'all. 8. No one said hello. Y'all got no manners, and it shows. It shows. I see y'all. One of y'all in particular, Mr. Coolin. Yeah, girl. Anyway, nobody had any questions. Y'all just sat up here, watched me do my lashes for the last 30 minutes. I waged back. No, you didn't. Y'all just sat up here, watched me do my lashes and do my nose. Didn't say hello. I poured my life and my heart out. Y'all don't care. Y'all just come up on here with no manners. I'm calling every one of y'all mamas. I'm calling your mamas. I'm gonna find out where your daddy stay. You know what I'm saying? Hey, LOL, what's up? No, don't say hi now. Say goodbye, because I'm closing out this live. Okay? Anyway, that's all I really have to say is, as you're looking at your new opportunities and you're talking to people, which is why I say networking is the back door. Trust yourself enough to know what it is that you need for you to be successful in your role, and what you want to learn next so you can get more money down the line and in the future. I do feel like there's a lot of like, make sure you ask these 4, 5, 6 questions and blah, 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 and this and third. Yes, there's some key questions you need to ask. But the questions that you really need to ask is, what do I need? And how does my body feel now that I had this interview with this person? Do I feel good about it? Am I nervous? Am I making this decision because I'm afraid or because I'm excited? Right? Because anxiety has a real interest in the way of like being a little chameleonaire. Okay? But am I excited for this role because I'm desperate and I need some money? Or is this really a good opportunity for you? And as long as you have the answer to that and you make a decision knowing what that is, then like whatever, get free. It's not to say that one answer is better than the other. I mean, I may have a preference, but that's not my business either. What y'all talking about? What do I need? What number am I comfortable to do with? Oh, very nice. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So y'all do be in here talking. Y'all be paying attention a little bit. I don't be knowing because y'all don't got no manners. Look, I should said hello to King Wale. Let's see if he says hi back. You know what I mean? Let's see what we got in here. Y'all, I see crying emojis. I see LOLs, girl, I'm soaking it in. Okay, great. Hey, darling. I'm sorry. Hello. Thank you so much. I waved back. That's a lie. Answer says that was a lie. Okay, let me say hi to these other people before I say. I'm saying hi now before I say goodbye. Okay? Hello. Confidence and clarity seems important here. It is. I be trying to listen. A lot of these things are simple, but they're hard to execute. They're hard to execute, even though they're simple. And I think there's something to be said about that. We typically, like, if y'all been following me for a minute, I just assume that you are a smart person. You have excellent taste. Oh my God, stop. I assume you have excellent taste and that you're smart. Because I don't know. Some concepts I don't like to dumb it down because y'all have been working. I'm not going to tell y'all to get a mentor. I do think that a lot of us have been over mentored, and that's the reason why we're stagnant in our career, because people weren't making introductions, they're giving information. Which I think we have the information, or we're looking for some sense of validation, and we just need an intro. We need an alley-oop. So I also subscribe to that. I subscribe to that philosophy more so than it is like find a mentor. It's just like, no, find a plug. Like, literally, find a plug. Stop trying to find a mentor so you can get the extra validation of things that you know you already know. Like, think about it. Like, if you ever be like, oh my God, I need a mentor. And you have to ask yourself, like, for what? For what? What do you want them to tell you that you don't already know? You want somebody to rub your back and tell you that you doing a good job. That's what you want from your mentor? What do you need? It's not to take away from the power of mentorship, but ask yourself why. Because I'm only saying this because somebody dragged me about it. I said, how do I wave back? Thank you so much, Lola. I was talking to one of my homegirls who knows that I'm still in the just crossing the year one line of being a full-time career coach, like as an entrepreneur, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I think I need to get a business coach. I need to get a mentor, and I need to get all these people around me because my anxiety was over here running out the window, right? And then she's just like, girl, you don't need that. You need money. I was like, you know what? You're onto something, sister. I don't think I'd be this stressed out. I just said, like, I don't think I'd be that stressed out if I just. She's like, you don't need that. You just go get your money. You know what you need to do. You just need to do it. Just do it. Be consistent, because guess what? Mentors or sponsors, sometimes they find you because they respect the fact that you were able to do it. And you got what you need, but you didn't need validation in the process. Yeah, certain levels of validation make sense, but you didn't need to be. You was kind, you was smart, you was loyal, you can do it. And it's like, you're right. All I really need to do is continue to share what it is that I know and trust that my experiences may resonate with at least one person. There's 15 people in here. If one person takes something away from this conversation, I'm pleased. I'm pleased. Okay? Because that is in the effort of me being consistent and trusting that the years of experience that I've had in this space, working in corporate, being an assistant, being in finance, being in all these different environments, I trust that someone will get some level of value out of it. And I also trust that I know where there is a market for it. I specifically talked to seasoned professionals because I just saw how many things broke. I need to put my AC on because all my makeup is just getting all undone. What in the world? Good God. This is why I'm supposed to get off. And it's half of this because Yana said hi. But yeah, so yeah, trust that you know what it is that you need. And trust that you don't necessarily need to be over-mentored in this. Whoa. I'm not saving this live. I am not saving this live. I am embarrassing. Whoa. Trust that you don't need to be over-mentored to be, to get to where you need to get to. And I think I talked about this yesterday, especially for the people that like are struggling with some level of imposter syndrome, like that first 30, 60, 90 days. And they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. It's just like, you know what to do. You just need to find a problem and sit with it and get some level of support around it and see if it works. But they hired you because you're smart. So I say all that to say, trust yourself. If you need some validation, come on this live. I'm gonna jump on here and drag you a little bit the way that my people drag me, because it's only best that I pay it forward. Amen. It's the way that my top lip is sweaty. But yeah, trust yourself enough to know what a good manager means for you. A lot of the information that you will see on the internet is just people still hurting from what they did not get in their last role. And while those experiences are absolutely valid, you didn't come this far to just get somebody to give you a high five and hope that everybody else's responses outweigh your own opinion and own need of what it is that you want. Like, you know what you want. Stay convicted in that. What they said, stay 10 toes down. It's really real. And that's not to say don't take on new information, don't be willing to learn, but like, you know what it is that you need in a good manager. For you could look at all the things that it wasn't, and now keep your eyes open for what it is. Amen. Amen. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching my makeup video. I'm just kidding. This is not a makeup video. If you're new here, this is a couple of people that just walked in live. What is this? Thank you all for joining in on my impromptu lives. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, we will be doing some masterclasses because your girl is back outside. And when I say outside, I mean on Instagram Live. That's funny. Haters. All of y'all. Haters. But yes. And also, can y'all throw a little heart over on the receipts over at my IG stories? Because people be making their pivots. Okay? They be making their pivots. They be getting their coins. And they be getting their things because they know what to say. You know, mess with you, girl. Okay? Anyway, happy Wednesday. Bye, y'all.